Hey, welcome back everyone. In this episode, we are going to define the player state and start working on the actual player character slash controller. I know last video was kind of long, so I think what I'm gonna do going forward is try to keep the videos relatively short and just kind of break everything up a little bit more. So yeah, let's see how this goes. To start, let's just create a new C++ class, and this will extend the AI controller. We can just call this like demo. I guess it'll be the player AI controller, and we can put this in public slash AI. And this is going to be a very basic class. So all we need to do in the header file is define a constructor. Oops, what is happening? Okay, there we go. And in the implementation, we just have to set b wants player state equal to true. This just means if we create a new AI instance, it'll want to have its own player state. Speaking of player state, let's go ahead and create one for our player. So let's go new C++ class. This will extend the player state class. We'll call it, I don't know, like demo player state, and this will go in public slash player. Okay, so first off, we're going to want to implement the ability system interface because, each player state is going to want to have a reference to its ability system component, which means we also have to include the ability system interface header. Wow, I can't type. Ability system interface. Yep, that looks good. Oh, and it has to be above generated. Okay, so first off, let's create a new public section here. We're going to want a constructor. We want to implement the function called get ability system component. That's going to be an override. And we're also going to want to get our attribute set. And this is going to be of type, what do we call it? A character. I think we said character. Attribute set base. Okay, and then that means we also have to import that header file. I think it was character abilities attribute sets. Okay, that's gonna have a U before it, probably. All right, we're gonna want to have a public class that returns whether or not our character is alive, and we're gonna want to make this a U function since we want to be able to get this information from our blueprint. Demo player state. Okay. Oh, and I misspelled that. I just realized. Cool. We're also going to want a new function called showAbility confirm cancel text because we might have some abilities that display like where we want to shoot it. So for example, you want to call down a meteor from the sky. We want to have some sort of indicator, and once the user maybe clicks or something, they'll confirm that that's where they want to cast the spell. So we're going to want a function to actually like show that like text. Now we can just copy that, and this will be of type demo state, no, demo player state slash UI. All right, that looks pretty good. And we'll also just want a bunch of getters. So for example, get health, get max health. We also want to make these U functions. Category demo. This is going to be attributes. All right. So we'll want that for the health, and we'll want that for our mana. Okay, max mana. Okay, and what else did we have? I think we had character level. That's right. And our character level was an integer. All right, now on to all of our protected fields. We'll want a property for our ability system component. So I think we called it character ability system component. All right, we'll also want one for our attribute set. We call it character attribute set base. I always forget to use. We'll also want a reference to the dead tag so we can keep track of whether or not we're dead or alive. And we'll also want a bunch of delegate handles for when our health changes, mana, probably like max health and max mana, and our character level. So max mana, mana. Okay. We'll also want to override the begin play method. Okay, we'll also want a couple of callback functions for whenever our attributes change. And we'll basically want to use these, I think mostly to update the UI once we actually create it. I think for now we might not use it too much, but we'll see. Okay, and finally we'll want a callback for whenever the stun tag changes. All right, cool. All right, so first off, let's start implementing the constructor. I also just took the liberty of creating these empty function definitions simply to save some time. But yeah, let's get started. So first off, we're going to want to create the ability system component. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's just call it ability system component. And we'll set replicated to true. Set is replicated. Okay. We're also going to want to set the replication mode to mixed. Okay, and that also means we're going to want to import the, I'll just import it in the header file. I want to import the gameplay effect type setter so it knows what this is. And basically we want to set this to mixed because we don't really care if other players are given like gameplay effects. We really only want to see like the cues, meaning like the visual effects or the sound effects. So yeah, that's what we're doing mixed. Anyway, next we're going to want to create the attribute set. Okay, one thing to note in our character base class that we made, I think it was here, we made a couple of weak pointers that I kept track of our ability system component and attribute set. These are basically pointers to the ones in our player state. So yeah, if you're confused, we're not like creating two sets of them. These are the ones in the character base are just pointing to the ones in the state. Okay. Anyway, now let's just set the net update frequency equal to 100 because basically it defaults to very low for player states and it might introduce some sort of perceived lag to the ability system. So we want to just make it 100 to eliminate that issue. We're going to also want to request the gameplay tag. So what is it? F gameplay tag request, nope, request gameplay tag f name state dot dead. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Okay, we also need to include the header files for our attribute set. What was it? Character attribute set base. Okay, and we also need to include, what was it? The ability system component. Oh, I think we called it character ability system component. All right, cool. So that's it for the constructor. And for this function, we're just going to return our ability system component. And this one just returns our attribute set. This will just be whether or not our health is greater than 0. This function I'll just mark with like to do because we'll implement the heads up display later. So let's just not worry about that. And these are all getters, so it's going to be pretty much the same for all of them. So get health. This one's going to be max health. Get mana. All right. Oh, did we call it something different? Oh, we just called it level. Cool. Okay, in the begin play function, we're just going to call the super version of it. Then make sure we have an ability system component. And if we do, we're going to want to set up all of the delegate handles for the like attribute change events. So health, oh, that's going to be equal to our new get gameplay attribute value change delegate. Sorry if if I'm like not making much sense while I'm typing. It's a new skill I have to acquire, learning how to type and talk at the same time. But yeah, okay. Oh, add new object. Okay, cool. So as you can see here, we're basically like we're basically like linking the actual like attribute value changing event to these functions here. That's basically all we're doing. So we're gonna need 5, one for max health. Oh, oops. So mana, max mana, and then character level. Cool. And finally, we want to add a tag event. Oops. So yeah, basically this will just get called if the stun debuff gets applied to us or removed, and we're gonna bind it to our callback function. Let's do that. What do we call it? Stun tag changed. All right, cool. So now all of these functions should get called whenever any of these attributes change or if this tag gets applied or removed, which is exactly what we want. Okay, let's just do the same for the other functions. Okay, so for this function, we don't just want to print out that the tag changed. We're going to want to cancel any abilities that are currently being cast or anything like that, because we did just get stunned. All right, so we're going to create a new gameplay tag container. I'm going to add the tag ability. Okay. So yeah, this will just cancel um, all of the abilities that are like currently being cast or anything like that. And similarly, we'll have a new gameplay tag container for ability tags to ignore in this canceling process. And we're going to want to add the tag ability dot not canceled by stun. Not cancel by stun. All right, cool. So yeah, they basically any abilities that have this tag will not be canceled. And finally, we will do ability system component dot nope cancel. I cannot type. Cancel abilities, and we're gonna pass in that, and we'll pass in these to ignore. Okay, that concludes our player state class. We do need to add this tag to our project, otherwise it's not going to be able to compile. So we need to open up our editor, go to Edit, Project Settings. I think it's under like tags. Yep. Then we need to add a new tag. We'll call it, well, we need just ability in general. And we're going to want, oops, ability not cancel by stun. Cool. So now if we try to compile, of course it fails because my editor was open. So let's just try again. Okay, awesome. It looks like it's successfully built. So I think now all we need to do is set our new game mode to actually use our new player state. So let's just go ahead and do that, and that'll pretty much wrap up this video. In the next one, we'll start working on our player controller and our actual player class, and from there we can start actually making some abilities. But before we do that, let's just go to our game mode, open this up, and if we go to player state, you should see our new player state class there. All right, cool. Let's just go ahead and compile that, try to play the game, and confirm everything still works. So I think that means we're doing well. We're on the right track. Please stay tuned for the next videos. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. See ya.